Street. State Representative David Zimmerman is here, and just an awesome man of God. We just love him, and I look forward to what he has to share. So,
well, so let me just talk a little bit about a little bit of the formation of this state right here in Pennsylvania that so few really know, and the influence and significance it has on our country as a whole. And then I'll talk a little bit of how it was set up and the founder's vision for it and how pure that was. And then a little bit on what happened as time went along, kind of what went wrong. And then bring it back to why I'm hopeful, and there's a lot of hope and you know, for this state, for this country. Did you know that after Jesus ascended, there was about 300 years where the church was growing and expanding, and governments were you know, left church alone. It was called the period of purity. I'm sure Ron and the pastors in here know that, but about 300 years. The next 1,200 years was the period of apostasy, which simply meant government took over the church. So church and state were one for 1,200 years. And then we get into the period of about 150 years throughout Europe, which was the period of Reformation. And that's a time when individuals started leaving the state church and starting their own groups. Martin Luther was one of the first, you know, started the Lutherans. John Calvin, Zwingli from out of Switzerland. These guys all left the state church, and that began this widespread persecution because the state did not want to let go of the church. And so, you know, this persecution began, and the two forms of persecution used a lot was beheading and burning at the stake. And it was an awful, awful time. And I'll talk a little bit about my own Zimmerman family in the midst of all of that as well, just real briefly. But here it is. So reformers believe God cannot and will not permit anyone but himself to rule over souls. Magistrates, our state, our governments, have the power of the sword to punish, to fine, to imprison. The difference, therefore, was great. The church does not assume what belongs to the magistrates, and the church does not execute what is the magistrates. So the reformers are very successful in splitting out church from state, and the church taking its proper place. A lot we could talk about, but let me jump to William Penn, because we all live in Pennsylvania, and William Penn had a tremendous impact on this state and forming our nation. And let me just give you a few of these. So here's William Penn. He's in England, and he ends up going to Oxford to school. Did you know Oxford, that school's actually still there? And that's a long time ago, but that school still exists. So it was the school. So while in school, Penn has this vision. And there's a painting in the Capitol, right in the governor's reception room, of William Penn sitting at the desk, looking up with a light shining in. And William Penn had a vision. He believed the Lord was calling him to get out on the streets to preach. And so he did. While he was out there on the streets preaching, he meets George Fox, who headed up the Quakers. And the Quakers were one of the groups during the Reformation that left the state church and started the Quaker movement. Penn was put in prison 6 different times for his ministry out on the streets. Penn's father actually headed up the Navy under King Charles II. And so Penn's father absolutely wanted him to follow his footsteps, but he He followed what he believed Christ was calling him to do, and was out on the streets. So he ends up in prison several times, and along the way, the Penn family was owed a large sum of money. And so the king could not pay them. So what they came up with was this idea of, let's give the Penn family one of the 13 colonies, Pennsylvania. We'll give it to them. The Penn family owned all of Pennsylvania. So they send young Penn to Pennsylvania to oversee the holdings, and it accomplished that, but it also accomplished the other part that Dad was so much wanting to get rid of, and that's get him off the streets from preaching. So Penn's over here overseeing the colony, and while after he came over here, he said, you know, there's so many groups that left the state church, not only in England, but throughout Europe. And his heart really went out to these people and groups, and he invited lots of different groups to come to Pennsylvania to live here. And I don't know how many of all of your ancestors may have a story like that, but many, many, many people throughout Pennsylvania have a story. And if you don't know it, see if you can find out what your ancestry might look like. So William Penn wanted Pennsylvania to be the model, not only here in the New World in America, but he wanted this to be the model, this state to be the model for religious freedom, where people can actually be free. They can go to church they want. They can, be with these various groups and all. And here's what's written right in the rotunda as you walk into the state capitol here in Pennsylvania. Right in the rotunda, here's what it says. William Penn's words: "There may be room there for such a holy experiment," referencing, the new colony that he's now owns and is in charge of. "There may be room for such a holy experiment, for the nations want a precedent, and my God will make it the seed of a nation, that an example may be set up to the nations, that we may do the thing that is truly wise and just." How many have been into the Capitol? I know Ron has. If you haven't, you need to come, and I'll give you the inside tour of what's there. But everybody needs to know what's there. So here's Penn. He owns Pennsylvania. He made some treaties with some of the Native Americans that were here, the Lenni Lenape Indians, for example. There's a painting right in the House chamber where we do the voting of Penn shaking hands with the Indian chief, making a treaty with them. He ends up building his house or home in Philadelphia, and he names it the City of Brotherly Love. Pennsylvania became really the very first government outside that Mayflower Compact, which was more of a communal type up in Massachusetts. But really, after that, it was Pennsylvania that was really established as the next government. What's really interesting about the Pennsylvania government is that it also became the model for the U.S. government. So Pennsylvania was set up, and the U.S. government was modeled right after that. And even Thomas Jefferson says this about Penn. He said, Penn was the greatest lawgiver the world had produced. So he understood law. He was all about justice. Well, so the Constitution was a document that has served us well. That's why I believe it's because of the Constitution, Declaration of Independence, that we've survived for 250 years. It's those documents are not complicated. They're easy to interpret. There's been a lot of effort to change them, but we have really not changed them in 250 years. But that's the credit our founding fathers for putting documents together like that. And I wholeheartedly believe in reading about, the stories of every single one of our founding fathers. I really believe the Lord was absolutely with them in drawing up the Constitution, Declaration of Independence, putting this nation in place. Let me just give you one story. So I ran a bill that was really beneficial to our produce farmers here in Pennsylvania. Do you guys know what a high tunnel greenhouse is by chance? It's basically hoops in the ground with plastic cover, and these farmers have been able to start crops so much earlier and keep them going so much later. They use drip irrigation, so tomatoes and things don't have spots on them. They're beautiful. And it's just a blessing that these guys can have them. But what was going on is townships were requiring, huge stormwater detention basins and filter beds and what have you, messing up the integrity of farmland, and because these are not permanent structures. So I could talk a long time about it. So I done a bill to exempt them from that. And I was called down to the Department of Agriculture to a meeting. They wanted to talk about it. So I get down there. I take my chief of staff along, and I had an intern there at the office we took along. So the three of us come in there, and there's 30 people in the room. And I knew it's absolutely not all from agriculture. I know these people, and so was Department of Environmental Protection was there. That was probably half the people, and it was ag. It was others, and they did everything they could to convince me to pull that bill and not run the bill. And I was given all the reasons why we should. They were given all the reasons why we shouldn't, and it was very interesting because the intern was next to my chief of staff and said, and pointed out that they were texting back and forth and smiling at each other across the table, and after a bit, I just got this sense that I need to just leave. And I think it was the Holy Spirit speaking to me, saying it's time to go. And I told my chief of staff, I said, 5 minutes, we're out of here. So we left, and of course they were all surprised that we just leave. And the next week, we ran the bill in the House and got 100%. Both Democrat and Republicans, every single one voted for the bill. Passed in the House, went to the Senate, and the Senate several weeks later was voting on it. And on a Friday, they get their agenda that's on the agenda in the Senate, and I get these calls from the governor's office. The Ag Secretary stopped by to see me. The next Saturday morning, I get a call from the governor himself, and they were all wanting this thing pulled. And I said, absolutely not. I am about serving our farmers. I'm not here for myself. I'm not here for you guys. I'm here for doing what I believe is the right thing. And so what happens is, come Monday morning, my staff is there, and my staff at the Harrisburg office. I have an office in the district as well, but staff in the Harrisburg office is bombarded by the governor's office, and the ag department came up there, and they were desperate to see me, but I was tied up in a hearing that morning, and I wasn't there. I was tied up. I couldn't be there. And so at 2 o'clock, the Senate votes. There was one senator missing, and there's 50 senators. One's missing. There was 49 yes to 0 no votes, and the bill passes. And now what does the governor do? Well, the House and Senate both unanimously passed it. So the governor, he has 3 options on a bill. He can either sign it into law, he can veto it, or he can sit on it for 10 days and it automatically becomes law. So this one, he simply sits on for 10 days and it becomes law. So it's the right thing happened, but clearly it was the right thing to do. And I felt like I was listening to what the Lord wanted me to do. Prior to 2020, I would meet with the agencies in their offices, and then 2020 rolls around and the whole election debacle, they started closing things down a bit more, and then COVID came along. It was all Zoom calls. Understood for a bit. But then when COVID ended and we moved beyond that, it got even worse, because here's what happens now. If I ask for a meeting, it's very hard to get an in-person meeting with any of our agencies. And what they do, they'll do a Zoom call with us, but no longer do they have their camera on where I can see who they are and their names there. What they started doing is not opening up the camera, so I can't see a face. And you know how it is, facial expressions and everything else matters. And what they're doing is they're only putting their first name down. So I don't even know who this is within these agencies. Folks, that is really going the wrong way, and it's very, very concerning. So I just share that because those are some of the things we're dealing with within and with our own government at this point. So somehow that's got to change. Yeah. Well, so I like to compare some of this on what's going on within the legislature, and I'll just share this as well. The last several election cycles on the Democrat side, there used to be what was known as, and they called themselves this, so it's not me calling them that, but they called themselves the Blue Dogs. Does anybody know what a Blue Dog is? What a Blue Dog Democrat is? So a Blue Dog is...
That's what they call me.
There you go. So,
but you're not in that group. Wrong group. Oh, sorry.
So a Blue Dog is a Democrat that's fiscally conservative. They were very easy to work with on doing budgets and the likes. Or socially, maybe not so much. But what they've done in the last several cycles is in that party, they've really gotten rid of most of the Blue Dogs as we've known them. Because then there's the so-called moderates, and they have been electing many individuals that really claim to be socialists. Scary stuff. On our side, I'm Republican, but on the Republican side, we're electing more conservatives, and that's where I fit in as well. We're electing more conservatives, and what's happening within the party is those that are not as conservative, more moderate, or even more liberal within the Republican Party, they pretty much despise us conservatives. So there's this divide within the party. So there's a big divide in both parties, huge divide. And then we have the bigger and bigger separation between parties. So I'm not sure what that looks like going forward, but very, very concerning. So the Lord warned these disciples about the hard road ahead for them. Behold, I send you out as sheep among the wolves, so be shrewd as a serpent and innocent as doves, in Matthew 10. He also said, beware of men. They will hand you over to courts, and they will scourge you. You will even be brought before governors and kings for my sake, also out of Matthew 10. In Corinthians, Paul talks about, he says, I planted, Apollos watered, God gave the increase. And so I keep asking people, so where do you fit in? Do we, either plant or we water? What are we good at doing, or what can we do? And God will give the increase.
This is a thank you that goes out for every single person that had anything to do with our 2025 Ken Falk Fall Banquet. What an honor, what a privilege, and what a pleasure it has been for me to work with every single one of you. I love and appreciate every single one of you. I'm going to give a special thank you right now for some of our leadership and our table sponsorships and people that were there at the banquet that we just really, really love, appreciate, and support. But first of all, I'd like to give a shout out to the Acupuncture Health Network and Dr. Tay and Jawa Tay for what they mean to our ministry. Angel Arms Ministries. I want to thank Dawn Hennessy and her husband Rick for partnering up with us and being a part of what we're doing, not just locally, but also internationally. The Acervo Project, many of you know Joe Sweeney and his wife Sue. I want to thank them for all their love, prayers, and support, and their entire team that has been with us for years now. I just bless every single one of them. Frank Rocco and the church in Sutersville, that's been my pastor since I was in sixth grade. Sixth grade, one pastor. Sixth grade till now, one pastor who has been there for me through thick and thin, that has been a confidant and a mentor and just a spiritual advisor and leader to me. So I thank the Lord for him and bless him and his ministry. Word of Life Ministries, I want to thank Pastor Tom Walters for everything that he's done for me over the years and just being a friend to my ministry and the outreach that we're doing. Bob and Jeannie Axelson, thank you guys. Words can't even express what you've done for the ministry and your part in our ministry. Alpha Lion's Den Ministries is our home. It's our hub of the wheel. It is where everything originated from. So everybody that's a part of that ministry, I want to give a shout out to you. Pastor Al, you've been with us for, well, the church has been there 25 years. So you've probably been there for a good 20 of that. And thank you for everything you do there. For the His Food Ministry outreach, thank you, Pastor Al, for running that for us. For Lisa Joy, for the part that you have done since you've come back to the ministry. For your husband, Chris, and for what he does and what he's going to do in the future. Praise God for Tanner, our little buddy. Thank the Lord for State Construction Incorporated, Greg and Sarah Turgeon, and their part in this banquet and their part in our lives, the friendship that we have with them and their son, Greggy. Signs and Wonders Ministries. Want to give a shout out to Jerry, which was Ken Falk's wife. Joe, who was there, Ken, Joe Falk, Ken Falk, and Joe Greco, and just really appreciate you guys. Words can't even express the gratitude and the appreciation I have for you guys. People that really walk in integrity and truth. I would say that would be the theme of this banquet, that I'm a firm believer in giving praise, honor, and glory to God first, and through men and women that I know that walk in truth and integrity. So I thank God for you guys. For Mary Lynn Burchak, the complete Burchak family, wonderful people. Just love you guys. Marcia Miller, your husband, Mike, good to see you guys again. Love and appreciate you guys. John McCabe Funeral Home out of Derry, Pennsylvania. John, you've been supporting us for years. I greatly appreciate that. Joe Greco, as I said, love you, Joe. Appreciate you being a table sponsor and being a supporter. You and your wife, Kathleen. Sharing Pearls, thank you guys greatly for being there and supporting us and being a friend. And Pastor Farrell and Debbie, love both of you. Latrobe Vision Center, want to give a shout out to Lou and and his support. Rupp Fiore Insurance and Barbas Insurance, Auto Owners Insurance. Thank you guys. Appreciate you. Love you. We go all the way back with you guys 10 years now, more than that, 15 years since you were supporting us in the golf outings and all our banquets. And just pray for you guys. Pray for you in Jesus' name. And love and appreciate every single one of you. Faith Forward Ministries, Rick and Dawn Hennessy, once again, already said how much I love and appreciate you guys. Health and Beauty by Bethany Montecalvo. Love you, Bethany. Appreciate you, girl, and the tenacity that you have and the dedication that you have to serve God. And also the ministry that you have, the Warrior Ministry. Couldn't pick a better name for you and the people that you're associated with. Bethany brought people up from all the way from Florida, Tampa, Florida, that was at our banquet this year. People from Indiana. I mean, we had people coming from all over the world, representing people from all over the world. We live streamed in our churches that we put in now in Africa. We did a live stream that aired at the banquet. So I give you guys a shout from Africa, from Pakistan, from Malawi, and Uganda. We love and appreciate every single one of you. Thank every single one of you for being there and being a part of what God is doing. Always remember that God said, he told us that the world would be our congregation. Every single street corner would be our pulpit. Through Alpha Lion's Den Ministries, the hub of the wheel, the foundation that all that's been laid on here and out. We thank you, appreciate you, love you. His Food Ministry, one of the greatest His Food outreaches that we've ever had, one of the best food ministries in the United States over the past 25 years, working with the ministries that we've done to accomplish what we've done. And now Crossing Paths Ministries, that has kind of given us the platform to fulfill that prophecy that the world would be our congregation and every single street corner would be our pulpit. Love and appreciate every single one of you. Greg Hughes from our production team, I saved the best for last, bro. Love and appreciate you, man. You do a great job, an absolute great job. It has been a pleasure working with you. You're also a great man of integrity, a friend to our ministry, and we just pour out our hearts to you. Thank you for your love and dedication and the job that you do to help us expand this ministry all over the world.
This is Pastor Ron, and I'd like to personally thank you for tuning in to today's show. We thank every single one of you for your prayers and also for your financial support.